Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast. Now, I have a great guest lined up for you today. His name is Kenny William. He's the Senior Director of Distribution Centre Wizardry at Partstown. What a cool job title that is, right? I'd love to be stopped at passport control and hand over. And when I'm asked what I do for a living, to hand over a job title like that. But Partstown is the world's largest distributor of OEM parts for the food service industry. And they have a distribution centre that features over 100 robots and elevated conveyor belts that move parts through the space without taking any additional floor space. So I've invited him on the podcast today to talk about that incredibly cool job title, but most importantly, how their supply chain innovations in this unique market segment and their tech investments are transforming their business at Partstown. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Chicago, where Kenny William is waiting to share his story. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Hi, Neil. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm Kenny William. I am the Senior Director of Distribution Center Wizardry at Partstown. Partstown is the world's largest and fastest growing food service equipment parts distributor. And we specialize in OEM parts, so original equipment manufacturer parts, the genuine manufacturer parts only. You can imagine in commercial kitchens all around the world, the preparation of food for, be it in a hospital, a school, a restaurant, that these are places that can't afford to be down. Their cooking equipment has to be up all the time. And of course, refrigerators and freezers that store food need to be working all the time. Those are the equipment requiring maintenance. If it suddenly goes down, you want to be able to place an order for the part and have it appear at your door quickly. We have a same-day shipping promise that is the kind of industry standard now. And we've been running toward the challenge of you place an order today by 9 p.m. Eastern, we will ship it to you. And so a lot of that shipping is next day air, and you do get it the next day.
And I'd love to take you back in time for a moment. I mean, can you remember where your passion for tech came from, or the moment that put you on the path that you're on right now? Because, I don't know, technology, commercial kitchens, I'd love to hear more about how these worlds collided. I feel there's got to be an origin story of sorts there, right?
I'm a kind of a perfectionist by nature and someone who just loves learning things.
Yeah.
If we're tracing back to when I think the world's colliding, based for what you said, it's like, when does a person turn into a business operational, person? In college, I took a course in Visual Basic for Excel. It's VBA, macros in Excel. And it was just part of the introductory engineering curriculum I had as a mechanical engineer at Tufts University in Massachusetts. And I just didn't, I never thought of myself as a computer person or, interested in coding, but I got just deeply interested in writing code. And that didn't make me a pure technologist. It more kind of showed me that technology enables process improvement, which is that intersection became very powerful for me in kind of how I live life generally, but also in my career.
And of course, that path would lead you to Partstown, where you have the coolest job title in 2,100 interviews I've done here, which is Senior Director of Distribution Centre Wizardry. Absolutely love that. But can you tell me more about the story behind the company and ultimately the kind of problems that you set out to solve with technology?
So I just want to point out that technology I kind of interpret as a larger, tools that improve the human experience, not just a computer, let's say, or a robot, but a shovel is a piece of technology, right? When you don't have one and you need one. So expanding to that kind of larger definition of technology, Partstown, the reason for our global success over the years is been that we view the intersection of that people, process, and technology as the sort of secret sauce of what we do. And you notice my title, right? Part of the experience of being at Partstown is we really take that town piece seriously, that we're like a village, a town. We're like you live where you work, really. And so in our town, right, we have different beings, right? And some of them are wizards and some of them are cowboys and some of them are ninjas. And, so everyone at Partstown has a different cultural title, and ours, I am proud to say that my team are the Wizards. We are in charge of maintaining the distribution center systems, and we try to be so good at our jobs that people perceive what we do as magic. So that's why we're called the Wizards. The story behind the company, though, kind of goes back to 1987, where we were a sort of small family business for a long time, and then in 2004. We started this crazy upward trajectory to where we are today, growing 20 to 30% a year for 18 years now, under the employee number 6, which is our current CEO, Steve Snower. I can talk more about him later, but we've set out to make very clear promises to a customer base that wasn't used to having the level of service that you'd anticipate from a technology company. So there's probably more to say on this topic, but I don't, maybe you have questions that will help me tell that story.
Yeah, no, it's just incredible. I think you've got one of the coolest cultures that I've heard in recent episodes on here, because I think we often get carried away with technology, with solutions, but ultimately it's always about people and transforming the culture with an organization. Was that culture always a big part of everything that you do at Partstown?
Yes, and it goes back to our Steve Snower, who I was talking about, our CEO, that leaders, people at companies model themselves after their leaders. And he's someone who from the very beginning was talking about integrity at day one. And the integrity piece turned into our core values, which now we have 6: safety, integrity, community, passion, courage, and innovation. And it's one thing to have those core values on your website, right? But to have your CEO talking about them all the time, and we as senior managers talking about them with each other, it really does drive the feeling that an organization lives with purpose. Right. And those aren't just words to us. They are, the foundation for the people, process, technology that we've been discussing.
And that really comes across in talking with you today. And if we talk a little bit more about the problems that you're going after here, I read that you implemented AutoStore, which is essentially an automatic storage and retrieval system that has helped improve picking accuracy by more than 50% and also handles 72% of parts picked in only 7% of the total distribution center space. And that I think that also features over 100 robots and an elevated conveyor belt that moves parts throughout the space without taking up additional floor space. It sounds incredible, but can you tell me more about that and ultimately the technology behind all this and how tech has helped transform your business?
There's a lot there.
Yeah, sorry.
So the AutoStore technology, as you said, is an ASRS, an automated storage and retrieval system. What it essentially allows you to do is, you can imagine at say a grocery store, if you want to go get something from one of the shelves, you got to walk over there yourself and put it in your cart. What AutoStore does is it takes all of that inventory that be spread out on the shelves that you're visualizing right now, and instead of you walking all around the store to pick the things off of the shelves and load your cart up, the AutoStore is this condensed cube of bins that are stacked next to each other, 16 high. So it's at about 18 feet. And above those bins on an aluminum superstructure, you have robots driving around, stacking and unstacking those bins. The robots fetch the bin that a particular customer has ordered, and that bin is delivered to an operator on the perimeter of this grid. And so that the person who would have been walking around the store, picking from all those shelves, walking miles and miles a day, is now just standing in one place, being delivered every single pick. So you get picking speeds of 5 times, 7 times faster. And it's a transformative technology for a business. Now, keep in mind, the robots are not actually picking the product. They're just picking the bin that contains the product. So you still are relying on operators who are doing that picking, but it turns your operation into when you need fewer people to do this job, and you're a company that's growing as fast as we are growing, you are able to handle that volume without the hiring crunch that companies in our space would otherwise be experiencing. So we've never laid anyone off. I mean, normally you think of automation as people losing jobs. It's not the case at all for us. We've never had any layoffs. It's always been to keep up with our growth. We need technology to enhance the human experience within our walls. So, and I think that that's reflected in the smiles that you see walking around our distribution center. It's kind of a weird thing, actually, because you think of a distribution center as being kind of a, dank place where, you look around and you think these people don't want to be here. But actually, when you walk around our building, you got the brightly lit place where we're proud to take customers and manufacturers on tours, and the employees greet you. And I don't know, I'm biased, right? But I think it's a special place to work. I've been here for 10 years and I love it.
And that's one of the reasons I invited you on the podcast today, because I think many people that are scrolling down their news feeds often think that technology is all about replacing people, especially in industries like this. But I read that your investments are actually transforming Partstown team members into almost tech-savvy professionals. They're not getting left behind. It's all about technology and people working together. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so I think that relates not just to the AutoStore and our distribution center, which certainly is a highlight of our business and our ability to fulfill orders, but everything down to how we decide what to display on our website and how to display it. If you think about when a customer calls because their refrigerator is not working and they're trying to find out what it is that is wrong with it, what you need to be able to help with, right, is everyone needs to be able to look at a manual, right, and see a part. And so on our website, you can do a deep zoom into what a part looks like. You can spin it around 360 degrees to see all orientations of it. You can reference a manual, which is interactive. So if you click on the part in the appliance that is you're having a difficulty with, it actually will, from that space, you click on it and it will show you it's this price and we have this many in stock and you can order it today. And if you're not sure what part you're dealing with, we have a whole team of technical service people who can help you navigate that parts manual, find what you need, make sure you order the right things. You can imagine if you have an appliance down and you place the order, if you get it next day and it's the wrong part, it doesn't help anybody, right? So we have to endow the customers and our operators with an experience that the technology enhances their ability to ensure that the exact right problem is being solved. And I think that so if you think about this as an end-to-end story, right, the appliance is down, you have to figure out exactly what it is that needs fixing. You have to place the right order for the right part quickly, right? So get answers quickly, get that order placed. And then we have the distribution center environment that can fulfill that order and have it in your hands as soon as possible, right? So we need the technology that informs that entire experience for everyone involved. And I'll add, Neil, that the technology here is so essential because of the promise that we've made to ship things same day, and what that means to customers, right? And how our industry works. So if you think about how a commercial kitchen works, right? They're preparing food at all hours. But if an appliance goes down, a technician is probably called into that kitchen, and that technician is, working throughout their business day. This customer needs that part. This customer needs this part. And by the end of their day, that technician gets back to the office and those orders all get placed in the afternoon, right? So that means that Partstown, what we experience in volume, is that over half of our orders come in the afternoon, and we have to still ship them by that deadline that I've set. And as we've grown 20 to 30% a year since 2004, you can imagine that promise becomes more and more seemingly impossible, and yet we keep meeting it. But the technology and the attention to it is what is our superpower.
And what stands out from myself here, from the outside looking in, is it seems that you've got the right technology in place, you've got the right corporate culture in place, and technology is complementing the workforce rather than competing for their jobs. But I'm curious, what keeps you up at night? What kind of challenges do you have? And how do you as an individual and your teams keep your curiosity and open-mindedness alive required to overcome those challenges?
So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm someone who's just always interested in learning and striving for perfection. I think uh, it's interesting how this is translated in my career to a deep interest in operations. I mean, if you think about it, my job is to enable the team of people in the distribution center to flawlessly execute thousands and thousands of orders per day, right? And yet, even though we're doing the same thing every day, an existential question that I might ask myself is why do I love doing that same thing every day, all day, right?
Yeah.
The thing that is so interesting and fun about it is that when you really want to be good at something, right, you kind of never stop reflecting on all of it, right? How can I treat the employees better? How can we do this process in a way that is safer, faster, high quality? And that, since perfection is unattainable, right? If you're always in pursuit of it, it is hard to be satisfied, right? The question you're asking, how do you keep your curiosity and open-mindedness alive, and what keeps you up at night?
Yeah.
Like, to me, it is that, right?
Yeah.
Like, my curiosity and open-mindedness is what keeps me up at night, right? that I'm so I don't want to say it's never satisfied. Not that I'm never satisfied, right? I think it's important that our company celebrates our victories, right? And that when we meet seemingly insurmountable challenges, I think we need to, recognize how wonderful that is and how exciting it is and why it makes us happy, right? But at the same time, because you're always looking for the next thing, it's like, you get satisfied, and then you quickly kind of transition back to the hunting, right? Like, okay, we solved that problem, on to the next big thing.
I absolutely loved that answer, and those words really resonate with me. That's exactly what I'm like as well. And as we look to the future, though, I mean, where do you go from here? What's your big focus at Partstown right now?
Yeah, so one of the pieces, I think, is make sure we maintain our culture, right? Because we're an organization that was six individuals in 2004, and now we're over 1,000. And you can imagine that just a company that grows that way, you need certain structures in place to make sure that your growth is responsible and that you have, like a business that is professional. But at the same time, you want to maintain that fun environment, and our culture titles, I guess, are part of that. And so I do think a lot about how can we maintain that smaller company feel as we become a bigger company. But from an operational perspective, we also, right, as you can imagine, are always thinking about, well, when is the next? We've been operating out of a certain number of distribution centers. When, in my role, when is the next distribution center opening? Where is it going to open? Which customers will it service? How are we going to implement it? Will it have any different or newer technologies than we're using today? How will we learn from mistakes of the past when we implement these growth plans? And then there's also the attention now to, we're at a certain size where a lot of customers are counting on us, and the specter of, what if we have a fire? What if a server goes down? We have to be more thoughtful about disaster recovery and redundancy, and just very robust practices at making sure that we can weather any problematic, unexpected situation.
Now, as somebody that seems to have the perfect balance between technology and people, and that combination of the two, I'm going to ask a personal question now, and that is that none of us are able to achieve any amount of success without a little help along the way. And is there a particular person that you're grateful towards who helped maybe get you where you are today, or just invested a little time with you when you were much younger? Is there anyone you'd like to thank that we can give a little shout out to at the end of this podcast?
Yeah. So, Neil, I'm not someone who likes to pick favorites, right?
Yeah.
In general, I'm also I see a lot of gray in the world of, well, to me, there's I guess there are so many people to thank, and it's funny because some of the people who I would think, you ask without some help along the way, sometimes you get help along the way that is you learn what not to do, right? So it's both things. But I think because we're having this conversation about Partstown, and because he has had such an impact on who I've become in my career, and what I think is important. I will reference Steve Snow, our CEO, again. the idea of operating with absolute integrity is such a touchstone that it's one of those things that I can use both personally and professionally to just center myself in any circumstance and say, as I weigh the options here, am I doing the right thing? And am I doing the right thing by the people I am with, the people I work for, myself? You mentioned before, what keeps you up at night, right? Will I sleep tonight with this decision? Steve is someone who, I mentioned earlier when I answered this question, the world of gray, right? I think I operate in a world where I really try to see all sides of an issue, but when it comes to integrity, Steve has really taught me about the bright lines, and I've always appreciated that.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely love that. And for anyone listening that just wants to dig a little bit deeper on everything we've talked about around Partstown, or maybe they want to contact you or your team, or even just find out more information, what's the best starting point for everything?
Probably LinkedIn is the best place to find me. My name, again, is Kenny William. That's William with no S. And I'm the Senior Director of Distribution Center Wizardry at Partstown. You can also learn more about Partstown and the services we provide to food service distributors, service technicians, manufacturers. That's at www.partstown.com.
Awesome. Well, I'll have that link to the show notes so people can find you nice and easily. And I love chatting with you today about your supply chain innovations in this unique market segment, and also how these investments are helping to transform Partstown and for your clients there. But also, I think a big part of your story today was your story, and also how in a world of binary thinking, and we all see that around our social feeds, that operating with integrity and the importance of that. It's such a powerful message. So a big thank you for sharing that with me today, Kenny.
Thanks so much, Neil.
I love what they're doing there at Partstown, and how their team members are being transformed into tech-savvy professionals, and how they're using tech to circumvent supply chain challenges for both OEMs and the purchasers of these parts, who are traditionally restaurant owners, service companies, etc. But more than anything, I think when we're all scrolling down our news feeds that just give us a reflection of what we think and believe, I think in that world of binary thinking, I think operating with integrity and being able to see the world from multiple different viewpoints, there's something quite magical in that. So a big thank you to Kenny for sharing his story today. And if you've got a story you'd like to share, please, I invite you to join me on the podcast. You can share your story by sitting here and having an interview with me, or just drop me a quick email or audio message. And you can do all those things by emailing me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, or Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes. But that's it for today. So a big thank you for listening to the podcast. And until next time, don't be a stranger.